Glenn, the highly regarded Ukrainian freshman, to get eligible 10 games in. But they will defend, they will get after you, and Terrell Stoglin will come after you with jump shots aplenty.
Iona with the basketball first. This is Machado, number 3 in maroon, along with Mike Glover. He spins to the bucket, but missed the layup.
He struggled here, but he does have a ton of talent. A really skilled scorer, a 6'8" power forward who can hit the mid-range jump shot. Also tremendous off rolling, catching alley-oops.
Now, out of high school, he began his college days at Seton Hall, but never played for the Pirates. And the Terps are on the board first.
Stoglin, a strong right and left-handed driver. Really likes to shoot that mid-range pull-up, will shoot the step back. He's a 2 in a 1's body.
Stoglin's a young man who decided to come east for his college ball from Tucson, Arizona. Heavily recruited by Pac-10 teams. Traveling violation before Glover put the ball on the floor.
The struggles for Glover continue.
There you see head coach Tim Cluse in his second year as a Division I head coach, a Long Island native who last year led his Gales to a 25-12 record.
Nice play from Smythe. Smythe with the back tap. Smythe wasn't in the starting lineup the first game. Came out of the gates 2 days ago and hit a 3 as soon as the jump ball was thrown up. Because of Iona's lack of size, they can switch a lot of ball screens other teams would have to hedge.
Nice looking corner 3 by Sean Mosley.
Mosley known more as a defender, but a good spot up jump shooter when he has balance.
Second year co-captain, averaging 9.3 points per game. Here's Machado spinning into the lane, hangs in the air. Rebound grab by Ashton Pankey. Carry called against Stoglin.
And Mark Turgeon, his first year at Maryland, of course, took Wichita State to the Sweet 16. Took Texas A&M to the NCAA tournament every year. He was in College Station and comes over and takes over for longtime head coach Gary Williams. The floor named after him. Retired. And of course, in Maryland, a team that struggled recently, but seen great heights. Went to back-to-back Final Fours early in the 21st century.
Machado misses 3. Not easy being the guy who replaces the guy. The good news is Gary Williams has made the transition as smooth as possible.
Yeah, and it was time. It was time. The program had become a bit stagnant, and had he hung on for one more year, there would have been talk. This is a team not likely to make the NCAA tournament. There would have been talk about, do you want to fire Gary Williams, who won you a national championship? Instead, he kind of goes out in his own terms.
Offensive foul against Mosley. Now, Maryland's the only team in this 8-team field here in San Juan this week not to have played in the postseason last year. Mark Turgeon's club would do well for itself to get itself into any postseason tournament this year. Like I say, the expectations at Maryland, not what they were a few years ago, looking to rebuild. And with the coaching change, they lost a couple of key recruits, which has also furthered to shorten that bench. Machado lays it in.
When Iona scores, they want to pick up full court. They want to continue to push tempo.
Nice look. Unfortunately, Ashton Pankey wasn't ready for it.
Pankey's got to catch it. That was a nice look from Faustin. Here goes Iona, and that's Scott Machado. Finding Glover. Glover, a double-double machine, a preseason Naismith Award nominee on the Wooden Award watch list.
And also the conference preseason player of the year in the MAC. But you got a taste there of what Iona likes to do on offense. Get it and go.
Just explosive.
Machado set the all-time Puerto Rico tip-off assist record in only a game and a half. He is going on a pace to shatter that all-time record.
Well, Machado, by one kind of crossover dribble, just taking it one step in the lane, kind of screws up the rhythm of Parker, and he finds Glover. And you also see the dexterity of Glover in that he can run at full speed, turn, catch, and then turn again and lay in without dribbling.
I was at the Iona practice yesterday, and the coaching staff acknowledged that quite likely the 10 pounds Glover gained in the offseason with hopes of getting stronger and more effective actually have worked to hinder him, especially here this week.
That's Lamont Momo Jones. Momo with a turnover. He really struggled Friday in their game, and it's a bad look. It's a bad pass. You have Ridley in the corner. Pass it down to Ridley. Allow him to throw it into Glover. There was no angle for it. Momo Jones is kind of a feast or famine guy. He hits a shot. He gets an assist. He can give you 30. On the other hand, he can really hurt your team.
Now Jones, after his struggle yesterday with 7 turnovers, apologized to the Iona coaching staff, and he only went 2 for 11 from the floor.
As we've seen against Iona, their initial defense is good. They're intense, they're up on their feet, they're pointing, they're playing pressure. But with every pass, it tends to break down. And you can get easy looks and easy layups, but you have to be committed to making them defend for more than 10 seconds.
Head coach Tim Plouffe said during practice yesterday, when their offense breaks down, we can't break down. You've got to stay with your basic defensive principles. Tough shot. Mosley knocks down the 2.
You know, Mosley is the second all-time leading scorer in the history of Maryland basketball, high school basketball.
One and done for the Gales. Michael Parker into the ball game with the rebound. Baron Weiss has also come into the game for the Terps. And this is Stogman, averaging 20 points per game through 3 games this season. Shot clock down to 10. Pass deflected away by Ridley, but it doesn't matter. The Terps score regardless.
Now, Weiss has had a nice little tournament, kind of been the pleasant surprise to Maryland.
Smythe with a quick answer at the other end.
2.5 seconds on the clock by my count. One pass to Machado, doesn't dribble, throws it up to Smythe. Smythe puts it in the bucket.
Mosley. He is on fire to begin the ball game. Terps up by 5. Was that 2.5?
3 seconds. 3 seconds. It was 38 and then 35 when he laid it in.
Glover with 4 early. Mosley with 8 for Maryland to lead all scorers. Padgett doubled up on the block, and Glover ties him up.
Nice play from Mike Glover. He waits till Padgett gets into his move so that Padgett can't make the pass. And Mike Glover's been so effective running the floor. Got him Iona down 3. Beautiful sights of San Juan. Come visit next year, won't you?
If you are a ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. The no-wait, no-hassle way to a great morning. Visit 5hourenergy.com. And K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K.
Back in Puerto Rico for the final day of the 5 Hour Energy Puerto Rico tip-off. And there is Iona head coach Tim Cluse, who likes to have his team get up and down and have a little bit of freedom.
Yeah, I give my guys a decent amount of freedom, and we have to learn to make good decisions. It's my job to make them better at making decisions. Decent amount of freedom. That's a decent amount of freedom. I'd hate to see what the green light is. They don't take crazy shots. They do take pretty good shots. It's got to be a commitment defensively from the players to buy in.
Jamel Jenkins is checked into the Iona backcourt. Machado drops it off, and there's the combination again. Glover with a layup.
I made the statement, and I also had the backing of 4 of the 13 NBA scouts that spent some time around as Maryland just turns the basketball over. Nick Faust, the freshman, throws the ball into the stands. I believe Scott Machado is a better NBA prospect than Kendall Marshall of North Carolina, who is presumed to be the #1 NBA prospect at point guard. He's a better athlete. He's a better passer. And while neither is a great jump shooter, he's a decent jump shooter, whereas Kendall Marshall's shoots more of a set shot, not a particularly impactful half-court offensive player because of that lack of a jump shot. I mean, Kendall Marshall's a good player and great in Carolina's system. I mean, look at Machado, assists per game. And granted, style of play helps, but it's not like Carolina walks the ball up and down the floor.
And certainly those NBA scouts here in San Juan have seen Machado at his best, and telling us yesterday that he is certainly playing his way into being a possible second-round draft pick. Glover looking big down on the post.
Yeah, they've made the commitment to getting him the ball early. Tim Cluse and his coaching staff, they understand that Glover's got his head down a little bit. You know, he didn't play particularly well against Purdue. He was in foul trouble in their second game. To get him the ball early, get his confidence back, because he's such an impactful player.
And Doug Glover has 4 field goals. All 4 have been assisted by Machado. Here they come again. Jamel Jenkins leaking out. Smythe with the tip.
I mean, you have to have 2 guys back every time. And then the problem is, once you get back, you got to stop the basketball because Machado will come full speed if you can't throw it up.
John Oslander into the game for Maryland. Offensive foul against Parker. Tonight, the Charleston Classic presented by Foster Grant concludes on ESPNU. First, Tulsa meets St. Joseph's in the 3rd place game at 6 Eastern. And at 8 o'clock Eastern, Northwestern takes on Seton Hall in the championship game. The DirecTV Charleston Classic presented by Foster Grant on ESPNU tonight.
And speaking of Seton Hall coached by Kevin Willard. Many of these players for Iona recruited by Kevin Willard, who was the coach here before he left to coach the Pirates in East Orange. And guys like Scott Machado came to play an up-and-down style.
And Willard took over for Bobby Gonzalez, who originally recruited Glover to Seton Hall.
Right.
Jenkins a little long on the 3, tracked down by Faust. Contested 2 by Stoglin, and here come the Gales, 4 on 3. Smythe all alone. Offensive foul called against Nick Faust. Second charge drawn in the last couple of minutes by Iona. Timeout on the floor here in San Juan. 11:16 remaining in the first. Coach Turgeon's club down a point.
Hey!
Welcome back to San Juan, where the Iona Gales have a 1-point lead over Maryland. Iona has scored 7 buckets so far, Doug Gottlieb, and 5 of them have come on Scott Machado assists.
Well, if you're not watching NFL football, you're watching a treat here. Scott Machado, right, 13 assists a game on this season, averaged nearly 8 last year, second in the country in assists, and he's just has that rare gift of an easy passer. You know, these aren't forced passes. He's not trying to hit the home run. He has tremendous speed. He also has very good quickness, and those two are separate and distinct from one another. And then he has the feel for when to throw the hard, crisp chest pass and when to kind of just softly lay it up and allow his big men to run under it and catch it.
Well, Machado played for the Brazilian team in the under-21 World University Games in China. There's Glover again doing his thing.
Also off Machado. Nice little set out of a timeout. Tim Clues.
And at this end, Iona has already turned Maryland over 9 times.
They will make you look frazzled because they play at such a different pace offensively. So frenetic that you almost feel compelled to play equally fast.
Faust.
That is a terrible shot.
Twice long rebound. He's bottled up in the corner and just gives it to DeZouvray, and here comes Machado. Faust lets him go right to the rim.
It gets you backpedaling in a hurry when you're playing without Keyshawn Howard, when you're playing without your point guard. Faust is not a natural point guard.
So that is 10 turnovers now by Maryland, and a timeout called by the Terps to avoid what would have been number 11.
It should have been number 11. 25 seconds, 35-second shot clock. And so here's the set out of the timeout. Little ball screen, Machado drags it, drags it, drags it. You come over to help. He loves just throwing it to the rim. That entire side is cleared out, so there's no help for the helper. So many point guards make the mistake of trying to put it just on a spot, on a line. When you have a player with the skill of Mike Glover, just lay it up, throw it anywhere near the rim, and allow him to run under it and finish it.
There's that 1-2 punch that has Iona picked as the preseason favorite to win the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And as mentioned, Machado played for the Brazilian national under-21. He is a New Yorker, grew up in New York, in Queens, but both his parents are from Brazil. They're the preseason Wooden Award nominees who are in this field.
No offense, but I think Machado belongs on that list as a Wooden voter. Also a Bob Cousy voter, more so than Glover. Nice little set out of a timeout. Again, straight line drives. Iona has to make Maryland take contested shots. A hook, good call.
First foul on Glover. Second on Iona.
And Ashton Pankey said something to Mike Glover. Look, he got Glover to hook him, got Glover with the offensive foul. Don't say a word. Glover's coming back at you. It's a high possession game. You'll have plenty of opportunities to prove yourself.
Iona scored 90 in a loss to Purdue on the opener of this tournament, 91-90. And then they beat Western Michigan on Friday, 94-88. In that game, Machado had 17 points and 15 assists. Parker and Glover got tied up, and it's Parker whistled for the foul.
Nick Faust with 2 consecutive contested jump shots. That one didn't draw iron. As a freshman, eventually you'll start to kind of calm down, settle down, and make some shots. You got to know what a good shot is, especially when you're at the point. When you're at the point and you take a bad shot, it becomes contagious. And all the other players who haven't gotten the ball recently, well, he's going to take it, I'm going to take it.
Iona with only 2 of his starters on the floor. Randy DeZouvre's come in, as has Sean Armand, who fires for 3.
And you think, all right, Sean Armand comes in, Smythe goes out, there's a drop-off. There's not much drop-off. Armand started, he's a very good shooter, and he'll stay in as long as he hits jump shots.
Points per minute last year, Doug. He was 2nd in the conference.
I love points per minute.
You like that? He fires away and is a terrific 3-point shooter. Faust goes right around Armand, but another charging foul called against the Terrapins.
Let's see. Terry Oglesby calls the offensive foul. We discussed this throughout the week with the officials. With the new semi-circle, officials are finding themselves having to look ground up at an offensive foul, and they're concentrating when they look down at your feet, not looking at how wide you are, but if your feet are outside that semicircle, and sometimes they miss whether or not you actually took contact and were set over the middle of your body. It's kind of a conundrum for a lot of these officials.
No doubt, that restricted area arc on the floor for every college basketball game this year. Armand, no this time. And that arc goes 3 feet from the center of the basket out.
I mean, the things you rarely see, Iona pressing off a missed shot. Most teams will press off a miss, almost always off a free throw. They are so quick that they feel like there are times in which they can press on misses. Now, Mosley was hot to start the game, but no one from Maryland has the wherewithal to get him the ball.
Stoglen, terrific move to the bucket.
Okay. Now, Stoglen has the skill to score more so than Faust, so he can take a bad shot or 2.
Glover spins but can't get the roll. It's a couple of native New Yorkers going at it. Ashton Pankey from the Bronx. Mike Glover also from the Bronx. Thomas from the head of the key. Boom. Jonathan Thomas, a junior from Frederick, Maryland, with his first 3. Well, Maryland does have 11 turnovers, but the Terps are shooting the lights out. 9 of 12 from the floor. Thomas makes it a 1-point ball game. Welcome back to the 5-Hour Energy Puerto Rico tip-off here in San Juan. Iona with a 1-point lead over Maryland. Tomorrow night, 2 of the top schools in women's hoops battle on the hardwood. Last season, Namkadi Ogwumike and the Cardinal ended Connecticut's record win streak at 90. This year, Tiffany Hayes and the number 4 Huskies look to avenge that loss. Women's college basketball on ESPNU tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern.
Well done on Ogwumike. Very well done.
Thank you. Sweat that one out more than anything else on the broadcast. You see Baylor, number 1 in the polls, but Connecticut and Stanford not far behind.
Of course, Texas A&M, the defending national champions. Speaking of Texas A&M, that of course where Mark Turgeon previously was in his career. Left a good amount of talent behind for Billy Kennedy, including Chris Middleton, who will hopefully be back very soon from his scoped knee.
Here's the problem for Maryland. You've got 2 walk-ons playing guard together against this sort of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not ideal that you have Jonathan Thomas in the game at this point in the game. Walk on, a Dean's List kid. Nice 3-point shooter, but got to be sure with the basketball.
Arnold Richmond also in the ball game. This is Stoglin, the leading scorer on the year for the Terps. Long rebound, and here come the Gales, 3-on-3. Armand drops it off, and James just into the ball game with his first 2.
Yeah, a misconception about Iona would be that while they play this fast, they're selfish. They're not. They're a very unselfish team. Jamel James, outstanding jumper, ends up with that beautiful assist.
And doesn't a lot of that, Doug, typically start with the point guard?
Yep.
If you've got a point guard showing, especially as good as Scott Machado is at scoring the ball as well, that he's as happy to share as he is everybody else falls into line.
Yep.
James way off the mark that time.
Rashad James has his nickname is Jet Blue. That's what the guy's called. You'll see why at some point in this game. He and Jermel Jenkins kind of interchangeable as off the bench, diminutive guards. James the shooter, Jenkins the athlete.
But both are tremendous weapons for the Gales. Tanky for 2. Here comes Armand right to the hoop for 2 more. Well, you talked on Friday about the fact that Iona gets the basketball on the inbound, Doug, and they are in the front court in the blink of an eye.
Deep, deep pitch outs.
Another Maryland turnover.
And by deep pitch outs, that's the outlet pass. Watch for the spot where when it's Momo Jones at the point, or especially when Scott Machado, he's as good as there is in the college game, maybe as there's been in a decade, at getting the ball at the hash mark or deeper. And so what happens is, you know, any coach will tell you, you beat more people down the floor via the pass than the dribble. You beat 3 defenders down the floor already with that initial outlet pass.
And then you've got the Arizona transfer, Momo Jones, with the 3.
Terry Oglesby said, I couldn't see if his feet were on the line, so they'll really quickly check. I think that's a 3. What do you think?
I do too. We had a little better look from our vantage point. Although if we got another angle, it might show you something else, but I do think that was a 3.
Now, Lamont Momo Jones really likes that pickup 3 going left. We've seen him force it at times, but if he's on balance, in rhythm, he can be a tremendous weapon. Averaged nearly 10 a game last year for Arizona. Led the Wildcats in assists as they made it all the way to the Elite 8 before falling to the eventual national champions, UConn Huskies. Momo gets to play right away. His grandma's sick from New York. And the NCAA waived his the year he normally would have to sit out because he transferred.
And that waiver didn't come, Doug, until October. So they went into preseason not sure. And so they were hedging their bets a little bit in terms of knowing exactly who they were going to be.
You see Momo where his release point is. Here's why he's inconsistent. See how he releases the ball almost from the left side of his head?
Yep.
It's interesting, in which we're looking at the replay, and it's kind of telling about the inconsistency in his jump shot.
And indeed, it is a 3-point bucket for Lamont Momo Jones, his first 3 points of the ball game. He's a natural leader, averaging 13.5 points through the first 2 Iona ball games of the year. Gales were the only team who didn't have a game before they got here to San Juan this week. Tim Cluse said they had a hard time scheduling a game before coming south. Weiss in trouble. He and Smythe go down to the floor hard. And it's a foul against Smythe.
Weiss has been a nice little story for this Maryland team. I don't think they thought he could contribute nearly as much as quickly, considering 6'10", only 200 pounds.
Yep.
They do think eventually he has a high ceiling. There's a type of length in which he'll be able to play in the ACC. Very, very good hands. Huh?
It was a good pass to me.
It was.
I was open.
There you go. Watch how I got out of your way and you secured the basketball. Nice.
Piece of
well done. Years of experience.
Well, no surprise. We've just been handed that Iona is 11-0 in fast break points over Maryland. And with that, an 8-point lead.
What's that our colleague Steve Lavin likes to say? Beep beepers, road runners, scatterbacks.
Well,
Eddie types.
So far, Momo Jones has fit in well with his new teammates. And that was the big question mark coming in.
That was on the plane ride over, I was writing down, the question for every team. The question for Maryland is, where is the scoring going to come from if Stokeland's not scoring? Mosley hit some shots early, although they haven't found him late. Question for Iona is, Momo Jones plays in the Elite Eight. Does he think he's going to take over this team? The answer is no. He's fit in quite nicely.
And, based on the body language between he and Machado, which I saw in practice yesterday and on the floor here and on the sidelines, it seems to be very, very good. And that's exactly what you hear from both of them and from the coaching staff. And that is bad news for their opponents. Stokeland draws the foul. Now this is potentially, for an ACC school like Maryland, a real bad matchup. They don't have the depth in the backcourt to handle the up and down potentially. And inside, they can't take advantage of Iona's relative lack of size.
Yeah. And Iona can score, and Maryland struggles to score. And Terrell Stokeland can score. 0 of 8 in the first game. Goes for 32 and 3 assists in their consolation semifinal game. He grew up in Tucson. Arizona didn't offer him a scholarship. So at the time they thought they were getting Brandon Jennings, who ended up not becoming eligible, went overseas for a year, and then made his way to the NBA. Stokeland ends up escaping Pac-10 country, come to Maryland and really being the one guard who can put the ball on the deck and create for himself.
He made the all-freshman team in the ACC a year ago, averaging 11.4 points per game. Gary Williams' final season as head coach of the Terps. Systematically, from Coach Williams to Coach Turgeon, how things changed dramatically for Maryland this year.
Totally different offensively.
Parker fighting his way back to the bucket, and Ridley's going to be whistled for the foul. Timeout here at the Coliseo de Puerto Rico. 3:38 remaining in the half. Some of the beautiful sights of San Juan. All right, thank you, Mike. And indeed, we've got 15th ranked Alabama coming up in our championship game tonight against the Purdue Boilermakers. And Doug Gottlieb, what are you seeing in that matchup this evening?
Alabama is freaky athletic. I mean, really long, rangy. They play exceptionally hard. And when they hit shots, which they have at times in this tournament, they're effective. At times they struggle to score. And then, of course, Purdue, who scored a lot more in this tournament, scored over 170 points in their first 2 games, led by Robbie Hummel and Ryan Smith, who hit 5 threes in their first game. You know, they've been better offensively than I would have thought. I think my question becomes, can Purdue guard JaMychal Green, who's yet to really explode offensively down low? And then who does Alabama use to match up with Robbie Hummel, seeing as he's been a perimeter player for the most part in this tournament, but when they've needed a bucket, they've rolled him down the post. He had a big fadeaway jump shot to win the game going back to Friday. I think it'll be a really close, competitive game. Probably score more than you might normally think.
Well, Purdue has shown itself through the first 2 games here to have recovered nicely from losing their 2 NBA players. I mean, they have figured out offensively what they need to do.
And replacing guys is hard. I mean, look at Maryland. Right now in uniform, of their top 7 scorers last year, there's only one on the floor, Terrell Stokely. You know, Jordan Williams goes to the pros. You know, Cliff Tucker, Dino Gregory, Adrian Bowie, and Pishon Howard. Pishon Howard right now out with the foot injury. Sean Mosley got a ton of run last year. Has hit some shots early, but they haven't been able to find him in the offense since he hit those 3 early jump shots.
Machado gets a pair of free throws. Foul, by the way, on Michael Parker, his 3rd. And so another thing Maryland certainly does not need is foul trouble. Takes an awful lot of effort for Maryland just to get the ball into the front court. And then from there, they've got 20, 25 seconds to get into their offense.
You see, even though Iona's been in a zone, they're matching up to the 2 shooters, Mosley and Stokely.
It's called their amoeba defense. Weiss with a nice looking jump shot, or rather jump hook. Under 3 minutes remaining in the half. Iona 35, Maryland 27.
Anytime Machado gives the ball back up, he's getting it back at some point to run a set. I love this set with Glover rolling and then a shooter on the strong side.
No shot. 3 seconds right here.
3-second violation called against Glover.
Here we go.
Just the 4th turnover against Iona, while turnovers have been a big part of the story for Maryland. And again, full court pressure off of the turnover.
Now they're denying Stoken the ball. I don't know where Taylor's going, but that's not the spot you're looking for.
And another takeaway. Stoglin gave it right away to Armand, who tries to give it back. A lot of contact, and that play was doomed from the start. Glover picks up the personal.
Well, it's been a frustrating week here in Puerto Rico for Mike Glover. Now, he finally gets the ball around the basket, and what a smart play from Sean Mosley.
Second foul on Glover, and so quite likely his first half is over. But a very good first half. 10 points, 3 rebounds for the 6'7", 215-pound senior from the Bronx. He averaged a double-double last year. And so we'll get our first look at Josh Gomez here today, a freshman also from the Bronx. Thomas, offensive foul. Is that the 4th charge we've had so far called against Maryland?
This is an ideal press break. Ideal press break. The problem with Taylor is you take off that far out, and you saw that Machado was closing in on that weak side line. It's a fairly easy call. And Maryland's brought down probably Maryland and Wichita State, you think, the biggest contingents of fans?
No question.
thing about this arena, it's an NBA-sized arena. And so even when you have 1,000 or so people here, you can hear every different thing people are yelling. I don't know why Terp fans are yelling. That was a pretty simple call.
Gomez able to get that rebound easily. Got a huge height advantage on the post. Machado can't get the roll. DeZouvre keeps it alive. And it's Maryland basketball.
Machado thought he was fouled, but he was one more dribble, kind of took off awkwardly and didn't make it so obvious with the contact. Machado, he gets one more kind of power dribble in the line. Taylor was out of position trying to take the charge. Just such an awkward spot to be in position. And some Iona's doing is they're not letting Terrell Stokeland get the basketball in the backcourt. They're making somebody else bring it up. And that's throwing off the rhythm of Maryland's offense.
Sean Mosley back in for the Terps. 1:20 remaining here in the first half. Momo Jones draws the contact. Offensive foul against Iona.
Momo had 7 turnovers going back to Friday. I know that's how the move is taught. Lower your shoulder, drop your shoulder as long as you don't extend your arm. But he did create space by using the shoulder. I don't have any problem with that call. What do you think?
I would say play on.
Probably. That's really how it's taught. You're taught as an offensive player. Create contact, create space by using that shoulder as long as you don't extend your arm.
And did you think he extended his arm?
I did not.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have called a foul.
Yeah.
But I understand the thought from the official. There it is again. A crossover. Yeah, I think you let him play. You're right. Let him play. Definitely don't call a foul on the defense.
No. And so Momo Jones back out of the ball game, getting a little liquid refreshment. Auslander at the free throw line hits the first. Tonight, the Charleston Classic presented by Foster Grant concludes on ESPNU. First, Tulsa meets St. Joseph's in the third-place game at 6 Eastern, followed at 8 by Northwestern and Seton Hall in the championship game. The DirecTV Charleston Classic presented by Foster Grant on ESPNU tonight.
John Scherner, Drew Crawford from Northwestern. Talented combo. Scherner at 37 a couple nights ago.
Rashad James is checked back in for Iona, replacing Momo Jones, and there he is, up to the rim. Young man from White Plains, New York, just north of New York City, in his first year of Division I play for Iona. He scored 14 points in just 15 minutes in Friday's win over Western Michigan, including multiple highlight reel slams. Big move by Padgett, and a chance for 3.
Padgett can be really effective in this game because Iona is so weak defensively inside, especially with Josh Gomez, a freshman. He ain't even played in this tournament. But simply the confidence of, hey, get the ball and attack. You know, when he turned the ball over previously, Doug, he caught the ball and was kind of looking kind of hesitant a little bit. I know traditionally he's not going to be a scorer within their offense, but against Iona, every game is different unto itself.
Thomas back out to Richmond. Stokeland looking for his shot, and he'll have a chance for 3.
Terrell Stokeland will take bad shots, right? He will be a frustrating player at times to coach and at times to play with because he wants to tear your heart out. He wants to, you know, he grew up in Tucson, and among the guys you grow up watching play, when you're really little, Damon Stoudemire, he kind of has a little bit of that to his game. He is a fierce competitor. And if there's a fault he has, and the reason he takes some of these shots is he's, 1, too competitive, and 2, he looks around and he says, all right, I'm playing with 2 walk-ons. I'm playing with freshmen inside.
Yep.
I'm playing against a team that's talented. I have to score. I have to take some of these shots in order for our team to compete.
Well, behind Mike Bibby, he is the second all-time scorer in Arizona large school, high school basketball history. And you know, as a point guard, Doug, I mean, your motivation for making a pass or shooting the ball, you're trying to find the best opportunity for your team to score. And if you look around and don't think by giving your teammate the ball is bettering your chance of scoring, take it to the bucket.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not really a point guard, a scoring guard. But without Pishon, I mean, look, you don't have Pishon Howard. Sean Mosley's not on the floor. I mean, you know,
he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot.
You're playing with stout team guys. Your team playing with guys that generally don't have their name on the back of their jersey. Sometimes you got to just go. And John Dillard's alongside. He's looking to go, you're in the game?
First action of the year for the 5'11 senior from Yorktown. Under 3 seconds now. Armand at the buzzer, no. And Maryland, with a nice push to close out the half, cuts a 10-point deficit back down to 3.
And if there's an issue for Iona that's going to come back to bite them and keep them out of the NCAA tournament, they have the talent to play in the NCAA tournament. It's going to be what happened at the end of this first half. Complete and total control of the game, but then a lack of attention to detail. You give up a couple offensive boards, you take a couple quick shots, and what was a 10-point game to 3-point game, Maryland's thinking, we didn't even play well, and we're only down 3.
Our score at halftime, Iona 37, Maryland 34. Let's head to the studio for the halftime report. Here's Mike Gleason and Dino Gaudio.